my inbox.
Okay, we'll go ahead and call this to order, and I'd like to make a statement with regard to that, the interim status that I'm at. This will probably be rectified on Monday with the return of Commissioner Moore. It was an interim position that I filled until she took care of her family matters, so, and we'll have that taken care of this Monday. With that, the review and approval of the minutes, we have those, please. If there's any consideration, if you want to read those.
I'm going to make a motion not to read the minutes.
I second.
Okay, is there any discussion or question about the minutes as presented? All right, all approved? Okay, thank you. This time, the financial report. So there's a handout by Becky. Audit questionnaire.
Each of you has a piece of paper as Becky is going through the audit process. Being a board member, you'll see this piece of paper. If you guys will fill this out sometime in the next couple of days and get it back to me, or if you want to fill it out here and get it back to me after the meeting, that would be fine as well. It's part of the audit process. The only thing on here for me, mine's a little different than yours. One of the questions, my fifth question down, how do you communicate to employees the importance of ethical behavior and appropriate business practices? Because it's just me and Joy, we really not had a formal training, but this has made me aware that I do need to have a verbal communication with not only Joy, but any volunteers that we have. So, and when it comes to ethical behavior at our place of business, one of the things that really jumps out at me is favoritism to businesses and restaurants, and then also the matter of gifts that can come to the Travel and Tourism Center. So those are the three items that I would discuss as far as ethical business practices from the Travel and Tourism Board. Unless this board can think of anything else, that's what I would keep that conversation honed in on.
Okay, is that a separate document you're talking about?
Now, your document will have some questions similar to mine, but as the director, mine's different than yours.
Hers is different. We're not having to look at that one right now, right? All right.
The only other thing that might be on yours, programs for controls, for identifying fraud or thefts. We do have Cokes for sale at our place, and we do keep an inventory, and we do lock the door when we are not present with the Coke machine. So I'll let you guys finish reviewing that for a couple of minutes, see if you have any other questions about that. And we are in the black, and we are still pacing with our budget at the percentage of where we should be for the year. And she again apologizes for not being here, but she is in the middle of audits for all of our entities in the county. And she'll be glad for the week's up.
Any questions with regard to the financial report? Have a motion to accept the report is given.
I'll make a motion to accept it.
Second. Okay, all approved? Thank you. Old business?
The only thing that is really coming up here is there was discussions over the past couple of meetings, as everybody knows, that non-compliance, failure to pay on time, filing zero. Nancy came to me, her season's starting to slow down, so as a joint effort, trying to take some things off of Becky, but working with her, Becky, myself, Nancy Johnson, and Joy, we will all be trying to get letters out to those people. So if there's any new identified folks that have a cabin or a place for rent, let us know. We'll get that out in a batch of first round letters.
Okay, Any other old business? New business?
Let me add one thing on the old business, the Azalea thing. Because of the government shutdown, they weren't allowing any volunteers to work on property, so we didn't get to do that, and they're gonna hopefully come back in the spring. So we'll just postpone all the plans.
I will give you guys a quick rundown of the updates from this past month. I attended the Department of Commerce Travel and Tourism's biannual meeting in Asheville. The Mortimers, who will be our next newest accommodation partner, came with me to that meeting, and they made some really nice connections there. They were able to actually meet a few media, retail outlets, people that are probably going to come out and do some stories about the building of their project and when it opens, so that was a really good thing for them. We hosted French travel writer Philippe Henry, who writes a guide like the Frommer's Lonely Planet guides here in the United States for France. Out of North Carolina, the only two things in our area listed were Asheville and Boone. So we will make number 3 stop. He was very interested in coming through for the Tail of the Dragon. So we drove out there and took a tour of that, about 3 or 4 miles. He wanted to turn around and come back. He was accommodated thanks to Snowbird Mountain Lodge. He was able to have what the French people would be very interested in, a beautiful view and great food, and they did comp that room for us. So if you see the folks from Snowbird, be sure to tell them that we really appreciate them doing that for us. That's a great thing. And it looked good to the division too, that we were able to support like that. I wasn't sure if I covered this in the last meeting, but there was a gentleman that myself, Andy Cable, and Greg Cable met with. He wants to come and do a 100-mile run. I know, and people train for a marathon. These are people not right in the head, more than likely, but it is a group of people, a segment of people that not only will they come do the run, but they will come here to train once we get the course out in the public. There's another place that does this out west, and he is actually so bold, he wants to run it on the same day as the people do out west. So he wants to compete full frontal. So
The same day, they're not going to, they can't run it in one day. I mean,
Yeah, I was gonna say, how
Yeah.
many days do you get to run
you
that?
start
100?
at you start at like 3 in the morning, and you do. There's time, like every 2 hours, you have to be at the next station or you get cut from the race. So, I mean, you can't take like a week to do it. It is a race.
It's a
And
timed
y'all-
race.
It is a timed race that, you have to be at a certain checkpoint or you have to quit. But, so this has some very interesting, that whole adventure thing that we were kind of going for. We've got some great leads with some people that are really interested in making this happen for us. That means right there, I'll get back to it. The CIOPA convention, which is where I was this past week. It was a very important conference, probably some of the best money we've ever spent. Folks that attend that, Southeast Outdoor Press Association, they're the writers for hunting, fishing, hiking, camping, BMX, race car driving, anything having to do with outdoors. These are the people that are members of this group. We went because next year Fontana is going to be their 50th anniversary special. And it's going to be a really special meeting. That's what these folks are calling it. At Louisiana, they had the lieutenant governor come. They had a lot of area politicians come talking about travel and tourism. The state of Louisiana gave the money for a seafood feast one night. So we're going to really have to work hard at reaching out to the division, reaching out to our other area chambers. All the area chambers within 400 miles of that place, they were there with a table with things to pass out. So this will be a big deal for us. It will make a lot of magazine opportunity, radio, television shows. I already have somebody that wants to come meet with the Moonshiners because I played Jim Tom's Robinson song, and they all were loving that and clapping. A couple guys stood up and clapped and saluted and all kinds of crazy stuff. So it was a wonderful group of people, really warm I love their passion for their craft. It was full of conferences on how to better their skills, printing books, grammar, better photography. I sat in on all these classes, and I really know the kind of passion these people have for their craft. So it was really great. You have this sheet right here. This is called a pitch sheet. That's yours. That is the teaser of trying to get these people to write articles for our area. When I first started the pitch sheet, it was 4 pages long. The division helped me get it cinched up to 2 pages because that's about all they would need. So it does plug camping, Joyce Kilmer, the Skyway and the hikes up there, the Cherokee hunting, whitetail preservation, a few other different things, the Wild Meat Festival, and but that's the pitch sheet that was included in all the media packets that I passed out. We are working with the community partners to promote the things in our area, such as the new neon night race that's going on. It's now on the website, as well as some of the public hikes. Dick Evans is holding a public hike at the 20-mile ranger station this weekend. It's a 7.2-mile hike. We're going to try and call the hotels tomorrow and remind them that that's going on. So if they have anybody staying in their hotel, they need something to do other than the Harvest Festival. If you're a hiker, you like to do hiking stuff. So this would be an option, and which leads to, we've made some connections with Vesna and her staff at the Walk in the Woods for a guided hike series for hotels to participate in this next year. We're in very beginning preliminary stages of those conversations, but they were very interested. They usually only do hikes over in the Great Smoky Mountains Parkway. They're licensed hike folks and have the proper insurance. So they're very interested in coming over and do some edible hikes in town, even to show people that these things are available even inside the city areas besides the trails. So that's been a great contact. And we've also made contact with Greg from Glory County Events. He is a gentleman that hosts a lot of the runs and competitions in the Asheville area, and they've been wanting to work their way out this way. They hold some events in Solly, but they're very excited to hear about the Santilla Bike Trails. And then you guys have got a couple of pictures in your stacks there. This is approved for the Guest Quest travel insert in papers for Georgia and Alabama. As you can tell, we're changing seasons and we're trying to promote the off season. So we have changed the pictures from the lovely green pictures that we had to some nice winter scenes and inviting people to look at the mountains. This is a $400 investment. It gives us leads every single week. Leads can range anywhere from 25 names up to 120 names per week. Again, it's one of the strongest things that we're doing as far as leads go, to get our materials out to people. They are saying they want information from us, and then we send them the information. Also, in front of you two, if you'll share that magazine, and you guys have got a magazine down there on page 18. They gave me a great deal. Our ad is on the bottom left-hand corner. This is for fun things to do in the mountains. It's an advertisement that comes all the way around Virginia, Tennessee, Kentucky, North Carolina, South Carolina, fun things to do in the mountains. So our ad is on that bottom left-hand corner, and whenever you place an ad, they give you a free advertorial. So if you'll turn the page, we did an advertorial on the lodges in our area. And again, part of the business thought behind this is that higher dollar, sometimes they have a little harder time filling those rooms. So we decided to showcase the 5 lodges in the area with the free advertorial. It's a great piece. A friend of mine did this for me for free. She writes for the Huffington Post and a couple of other things, but I needed some help because I was crunched for time since they did offer that to me for free. So that was was Mary Ann over at the Fat Belly's, the Orange Tender Cart. She used to work for the Grand Star, and she's been in the literary world for most of her private career. So she did that piece for me, and I think it came out really well. So those are a couple of advertising pieces that we've worked on. And we have some meetings scheduled with Western Carolina University, the Dean of the Hospitality and Business Department, Dr. Stephen Morris, and he had an article printed in our paper, I think it was last week, with some statistics for the Western North Carolina mountain area. So he is going to be starting his work with us in the near future to help us in our endeavors for travel and tourism. I think that is it for updates.
Does he charge the work?
No,
It's just works.
and you're going to get the grad students too to come do some surveys of folks that are in the middle of their vacation or at the end, and some incentives, and people with their feet on the ground being able to help out here. So that will be very helpful as we're trying to finish up with the visitor survey profile study.
That's good.
My next item here, got some feedback from you guys as to, we already sell Cokes. I would like to expand the retail out of the shop there for selling maps, selling t-shirts, and selling postcards. And I wanted to get your feedback on that. I've spoken with Becky. She only makes 2 deposits to that account. If we had a card reader, which they're free, we could slide cards, we could take cash, we could keep inventory, and it would be another revenue source for us that might be able to get us another piece of advertising per year.
So you're gonna get the maps from the Forest Service, or is it
Yes,
somewhere
or wherever their
they're
wholesale
also-
source is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you've
because
got-
they're closed a lot of times late in the afternoon, and that's when travelers get here and they head baker's hours. And then we're trying to stay open on some Saturdays here through the end of October.
And you have a cheap source for your t-shirts too?
Nancy has told me that if I'm smart, I can get t-shirts printed and single color, $9, which is something we would start with, charge 15 maybe for those, or kind of figure out competitively. But there's not any pure Robbinsville t-shirts in town for
And
sale.
how much your Joyce Kilmer idea?
And then the Joyce Kilmer idea, and then even this, this would make a great t-shirt.
Yeah. The only thing is, and I know it's Robbinsville.
This one's been
outdoor.
simplified just a little bit because it wouldn't print on the koozie, but the tree, when it's not simplified, it's bigger and there's a lot more detail to it, but it wouldn't print on the koozie.
There's
So
not a motorcycle.
No, there's not, but it is roads. This one is explore the road, and that is the road. There's not anything on this one. As far as, the little iconic things, yeah. On the other bigger tree, yeah, there's gonna be one on the other bigger tree. This was the one for Seoga.
Yeah.
So with my designer, we can change what's in the tree, and we can also make the icons pop out in color. to
I don't
make
know, I
it-
like that right there.
I know, but like if you made a t-shirt, it might be cool to have
But
the
then you're
deer
talking
and
about going higher in price too.
yeah, but you could charge higher for it
Yeah.
if it was a long sleeve and it said Robbinsville down the side, or,
I like that, I like that design.
yeah, she did a really nice job.
Well, I'm all for that, but of course, the bottom line's money. I mean, we
Right.
want to make sure we make profit, make it worth our while.
Right, and in quantities that, again, storage is an issue in my place, so it's not like I don't want 100 t-shirts. I want, I don't think we could take more than 24 at a time, personally, but, I'd like to
So
explore
there's a
this,
catch-22, because you get a price break.
what is it, yeah, dozens, 24 or something,
Doesn't it?
okay. But I think this would be a good revenue source for us. We have people come in and ask for postcards all the time. We have great photography. It would be easy to get, 2,000 postcards last time I looked in was about, well, that was a double-sided, so I need to look at what a single-sided would be. But good revenue stream there.
Have you had the conversation with Becky with regard to being as a tax-supported entity, being able to sell for profit?
Last conversation I did,
Okay.
we
She
did
said
talk
it's all
about
right.
it.
She did.
Because she would be able to take the amount and just take 7% from it and turn it in. Because other than her 2 deposits into the bank, everything else would be from the retail operation. When she goes to work with bank statements.
Okay.
I know something was mentioned about the space where Mount Holland used to be, down below the elementary school. And I know those guys have moved to where it's going now. Were you looking at that being a possibility of moving into a bigger space there, or?
Somebody told me who was going there, and I just forgot who it is. I think it's already been. You're a busy boy.
Just let me message.
It'd really be nice if we could find a bigger spot.
Yeah, we'll find a spot to start building.
I might give up on that.
No, and once your situation gets better, as a committee chair, we'll dive back into that. Probably make some headway this winter.
Well, what would be good would be for the bypass to be designated, whatever. What are the chances of that happening? Scenic byway, is that?
Is that from Topton to where it was taken out? I
Yeah.
know. So
Were you
Topton
doing
to where?
were you doing some research on that? Indian Byway?
Indian Lakes, I've heard of that, yeah.
Byway,
And the history in that was that the board had to deal with the issue of advertising.
the signage along the
Yeah.
road.
And, you know, it's quite clear, and I'm on the RPO, which is the Rural Planning Organization of Southwest Commission. I chair that committee and had discussions with those folks with regard to that. And if you are a business and you have a sign immediately near your business, it's fine, but you can't have a sign a mile away, coming either way, and have it out there and do that. So they do a survey of the signs that have to be removed. And I remember when all that happened, is that there were businesses on Tallulah that didn't like being told that they couldn't put signage to advertise their businesses on the scenic byway. That's part of the requirements. And one of the things that burns me up, how many of y'all have ever come into the Stokoe, up to the Wolf Creek Gap at night? Have you really looked to see that at night as you're coming in, your lights are shining up into that gap? The signage by the state is unreal.
Yeah,
I mean, that's just me. But anyway, that was the concern. And back in the day, there were dollars that we missed because of that.
well,
Being able to
coming in
apply.
both directions, I don't know where the Indian Lakes Byway starts, but this down in Cherokee County, they've got all kinds of signage along the road.
Yeah, but I don't know if it goes that way. It's a designation. I think it's from Topton to someplace here in Bronzeville that it was taken out. It was taken out.
Is that trying to
Yeah.
connect to the Cherokee Indian Lakes? Is that, I mean,
Well, the Indians Lakes, I think it's supposed to be a loop, is what I understand, but I can find out more about it.
Well, now, if I understood and remember correctly, there was more money available if we were to do
Yeah.
the scenic byway.
That's what I
Is that
meant.
the same thing with the Indian Lakes also?
Yeah, the Indian Lakes
all
is the byway.
signs within the city of Robbinsville are within compliance, they're all within 50 feet of the center line.
That opens up a whole nother can of worms about whose signs are sitting on state of right way right now.
and they honestly don't know.
Well,
The
there
whole
was,
town of Robbinsville.
Well, now, about
There's-
2 or 3 years ago, the letters come out, we had to take our sign, or we did take our sign down for the apartments. Because all of us on 129 that were encroaching on
As
that.
long as you're 50 feet back.
I was 39.
but that wasn't scenic byway, right?
No, this was a letter from the DOT.
Well, they're the ones that do the
Yeah.
designation.
And what he was saying was that they don't know exactly where the center line is, and that's one of the points of contention with things like that. But you're saying that the signage that has to be removed is those signs for businesses that are further than 1 mile from
Now,
that
that's the
business.
understanding. Mr. Grindstaff, I can't remember his first name now. Wesley Grindstaff. They did a survey. They have to survey and see how many signs are where. But there was a previous board that voted and said that they would take it out of that scenic byway. Saying that it is scenic byway. And there were dollars for it in doing that. I mean, the scenic byway money is what built the visitor center in Telfair. And the scenic byway money would have been what would have built on that site presently now at, where they tore down the old ranger station there on Massey Branch. But, you know, it still would have been ground to do something, but that's what happened because of that one decision. And you know, you look at it from the standpoint of the business owners, you know, if you're 2 miles off the roadway, or you, yeah, you see what I'm saying? And I understand the argument, I really do. But you know, if you can come within the limits of the law, find out what you can and cannot do, and then try to live within that. But the designation is, you know, is very specific.
That's considered a city byway where you're at now.
20, yeah,
Yeah.
that's why we don't have a sign.
And I'm thinking the section that we're questioning right now is from Topton, Ledbetter area, and it comes on into Robbinsville. I don't know how far from
You know
Robbinsville.
that lady that owned the Briar Patch Nursery or whatever back in there? She was raising cane, because she's got a sign out there on two of them.
Right?
And she's a couple miles back, and she was raising 9 kinds of hell.
Yeah, and that might have precipitated into the decision.
Yeah.
But, you know, you make those decisions on that, you know, about, well, how do you advertise your business? You know, if it's,
We miss a lot of business, believe me.
yeah,
People have to get lost to find us, or be referred.
Well, I think that the division, actually, it says on here, Indian Lake Scenic Byway travels north from Almond to Topeka. I think they meant to say Topton.
no, probably that, well,
Oh, and then south to Topton on a scenic journey through communities with meaningful names. So they must have Googled and found that it's still associated with our name and stuck it in here, because I did not write that in here originally,
but I
so
don't,
have we really been removed?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
This is the
There's
Indian
still-
Lake Scenic Byway.
Yeah, that's right. That's what that's
Is
what
that,
it's
that's what
called.
it was? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Indian Lakes Scenic Byway. And a portion of that was taken out as that designation. And I don't know how far it runs. You see, I don't know if it's from Topton with 143, going across the Cherahela, or, you know, exactly what the course of that byway is.
So their part stayed, more than likely, because it says Almond to Topeka.
They can't put signage up.
Where does Almond to Poco come?
Almond
South of us.
south of
Right.
him, all the way to where Ronnie Hedrick would be,
Oh, okay.
Topeka.
Around
Which is on
28, you
129.
think?
That's what I'm thinking. And then
We'll
back
see. I mean,
to
we'll find
Topton.
out, because, you know, really, and it is, I mean, we have business owners sitting here, you have to have signage.
That's one of my goals this year, is to go dig in, if it took going to Raleigh or wherever to try and get a variance. What we're gonna try and do is combine Be Global, Dakota Diner, and our signs all into one, and see if we could get a, because there's, the signs are there. Yeah, they're there.
The state actually does that. I mean, it's like on the interstate, you know, if there's food, you know.
Brown and blue signs, yeah.
Yeah, you know,
Problem of it is that Jeff at Be Global had several signs, and the trimming equipment that would come along, and, you know, we need,
Well, that's
Tore 'em
just
up.
that's just careless.
yeah, but it was $400, $500 every time they
I
tore the
have a
sign.
black and blue sign connection at Travel and Tourism Division of Commerce. I know who a black and blue sign is. It's supposed to help you with that.
Yeah, that'd be great, except for it doesn't really display an image. You know, it's
Okay.
pretty much just,
You're looking more for a
Verbiage.
wayfinding.
yeah, I'm looking for a logo recognition is what, because
Okay.
people recognize our logo and identify us by that. That's not gonna be on a blue sign.
Okay,
So that'd be a last resort.
okay.
But we gotta do something, because it's, you know, ridiculous to have a business that could do better, help the county do better, even though we're 2 miles off the road and we can't have a sign. And there are other signs. I mean, there's plenty of signs along there. It's not like people like Fontana don't have them, even though they're grandfathered in. There are signs along that road. So, is Wesley Grimestaff the guy that
Wesley Grindstaff, as I understand, was the one that, now that's the last accounting I had of that. You know, and sitting here right now, I can't tell you exactly where that, you know, what course that byway is.
Right.
You know, and what portion of that was taken out, which is another interesting question, because I don't know.
Right.
And it needs to be found out.
We need some clarification.
Yeah, we do. And I know that like you were talking about, it was some, you know, Pure on Tallulah, you know, that I did hear about. So, we can investigate and find out, or at least find out where it's at. And if that be the case, you go to the part that's not in this byway.
I got a certified letter, but I was within compliance, but everybody in town was just.
Is that right?
I remember that.
Everybody in town was upset. I mean, San Ran, I mean, they're all within 50 feet of the state guideline of being, your setback is 50 feet.
Okay.
And they're all within 50
Cherokee Realty
feet.
was a big sign, so was
Yeah.
South Lane Realty,
McDonald's,
they were gonna have to
McDonald's
move their
within 50
signs.
feet of it. All those businesses down there are within 50 feet of the center line.
And they had just put those big new signs up.
Yeah.
I remember that now. Second.
So in order to get it all in compliance, everybody would have to move their signs, buckets and mega bucks.
That's right.
And
Especially the
some
McDonald's
places,
sign.
yeah, and some places didn't have any place to put
Yeah.
it, there wasn't anywhere to go.
Then people like John and Briar Patch, it would hurt their business. by putting
Yeah,
their
and
signs
there
up.
are others too.
That may not be worth it then, just to just search other avenues for our money.
But we need to find out what we can and don't have, for sure. And,
So,
but excuse me,
Oh, sure.
what I can do is at the next, at our next RPO meeting, I'll bring it up to issue.
Yeah, we
It might-
could use some help on that, even if,
Yeah.
I've talked with, I guess it's Ronnie, trying to think of his last name, about relocating their sign back, you know, away from the road, that might make it more compliant, but Stokoe Diner is in complete compliance. Allegedly, you know, but they're closer than 50 feet.
Oh,
Yeah.
You know, a lot closer. But if we made the sign bigger and moved it back, I'd be okay.
When did they make 28 a scenic byway?
Whenever Lady Bird Johnson was,
Oh, okay, so it was
you know,
before
7
your
years.
time.
Oh, yeah, way before.
Okay.
There was a revival on that though. I think it was when the 74 project kicked in, you know, for the relocation. But we'll find out about it, see what the situation is.
Yep, anything you can do to be helpful. But that's on my agenda for this fall, you know, is to go deal with that some way, somehow. Get a variance, you know, do some consolidation, some negotiation, even road relocation. I don't care. I've got pretty much a green light to do it. It's gonna cost me some money, because I'm gonna have to pay for the sign to be built. But, you know, it's important enough to me to get some street sign recognition, because we have probably 1,000 bikes or 2,000 bikes a day that go by, and we don't hardly ever get people just dropping in. It's always people that have got reservations. So it's, you know,
but you'd like to see the curiosity, just stopping in and see what's going on.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we can get a little bit better recognition, and, you know, yeah, we'll probably get 10% more business. That'd be significant.
Definitely pay for your sign.
Yes.
And give store and food,
Yeah,
people coming in, if anything, that,
well, we don't serve the public.
okay, you're just for your
Just
guests.
for our guests, but you know, they still have to find you, and there'd be a lot more that would stop and stay if they knew we were down there. I can't tell you how many people come down there and it's like, oh, we never knew this was here. We've only been coming up here, 10 years. Or longer.
I have found a good source for those polyurethane sandblasted signs. We were having to get one built for the senior center.
Oh, no.
Found a real good source.
I'd like to talk to them because I need some for my building. And also, you know, for the
Those
street.
last a long time too.
Yeah, mine's been up 10 years. Who's that? Lee Castro.
Mhm. But you don't mind?
We were told about a guy in Bryson, and this company shipping it from California beat him initially by almost $800. And then the senior center sign actually only has to be one-sided. And so a 3-foot by 6-foot sign, sandblasted and painted the colors that match the building, delivered to our business for $1,600.
Wow. It's not bad. One-sided or two-sided?
One-sided. Two-sided was gonna be 2,200.
Okay.
And two-sided is also 2 inches thick. The one-sided is only 1 3/4, 1.5 inches, I think. But still dense enough that our brackets will hold it in our base.
Mhm. Okay. Well, I'm definitely, for upping the quality of our, street appeal.
Sure.
I think that's, go to various communities that have set standards that, have good signage. It makes a much better impression than just the hodgepodge of painted, hand-done signs and stuff that, so much dot this area. But if we could set some, improved signage standards, that would be great. And phase it in over time.
Now that I'm thinking about that, there was legislation in the General Assembly that took that authority away from local government to establish this.
Oh, really?
Even if they have existing zoning ordinance?
Well, you see, the thing is, the signage is the issue right there on NCDOT property, or right-of-way, or near right-of-way. So that was a big thing because of the signage, changing these lights, and all this kind of stuff, that you'd have some say-so in that. But I'll have to check it out because that was a big hot-button issue
Oh, yeah.
with the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners and the General Assembly.
If you're farther than 50 feet back off of 28, can they still mess with you? I mean, what if your sign, I'm just throwing something at you here. Your sign was over here on Stacola's property back here, a big sign, because this is wide open here. They could see your sign now. Would that be part of a scenic byway?
You can get it from one direction. You wouldn't get it
That's
from
true.
the
That's true.
south
Unless it
side.
was high enough, we put a B sign.
Above the building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a way around it too, if they don't let you put it out here,
Right. Well, it'd be nice to not get too carried away, because I think, billboarding is great, but it can sometimes dwarf a building like, Stacola Diner. So I'm willing to do whatever is reasonable and prudent to, get some identification for ourselves. And, well, Be Global, they sit down there and, they're a nice little business. They could use a little bump from people that, they get a lot of business from us. But that's about all they get as far as drive-up business. And very little, just, people go looking for them. So I think it'd be great to consolidate those signs. I'm all for it. And if we can make it look, appropriate for the area, it might even be good if we could recognize the town of Stacola, which has no, marker at all, really. You'd have
Is
to
it
get
a
lost.
town? It's not a town.
It's a
an
township.
area. Township.
Township.
Yeah.
It's not corporate.
Right. So I've got kind of a lot of ideas there that might help.
I think that
That-
it would make that corner look really well right there at the diner as well, to have a little concrete
Right.
and, 3 signs in it. It would really make that area look well.
Have it
built
lighted
and
so that people at night
I've
can
been down that way in a while. What color is that building?
blue.
Blue and yellow.
Can't miss it. Blue. Yeah, I mean, there's no lights out there at night, so people have a hard time seeing the sign. A lot of times people just drive right on by, and a lot of times they wind up over here in Robbinsville looking for us. I found 3 guys the other day, I stopped, they were on the side of the road reading the map. They were going to our place, so,
Following.
yeah. So I know it happens, and I get a lot of people that say, oh, they got our name from travel tourism, or McDonald's, or, Ingalls, or wherever. Everybody knows where we're at, but the people that are trying to come into the city have a real hard time with it, especially at night, because it's dark.
Some of your
It's
signs
real
glow
dark.
in the dark. That's been really awesome.
Yeah, I've got,
With all that
Stacola
lights hidden.
Mountain.
If he's talking about putting something up as high as a billboard, he need it lit.
Right. Yeah, the ones that we have now are reflective, and they give you a little bit of an opportunity, but unless you're, on brights, a lot of times they're far enough off that they don't get lit very well. And again, that would be where being closer to the street would be way better. But, in lieu of having lighted, signage, that's about your only option, so that people could actually get some idea that they're close. I don't know, it's been kind of a dilemma, and one of us, a sore spot, and I've kind of let it go, but it's time to step up and go address this with the state, or whoever it's gotta be, if it's DOT, and,
It'll be DOT.
yeah, be DOT. Hopefully they'll be willing to help us, and I would
Right,
keep
steps
everybody
down
posted.
right?
Yeah,
These
he's
officers
Andrews.
and managers.
But now, I don't know, since the shakeup in Raleigh,
Who's
exactly
the
what
new
his
person?
capacity is. Dan Green took
Joel says.
Joel Setzer's place.
And is Dan out of Nashville?
No, I believe he came from down around Polk County. I think it's Polk County.
Right,
He was in a different division.
right.
He moved to the civil office in Jackson County.
I think Joel's still in that office.
Yeah, he's still there, he's just not the primary engineer, project engineer.
I've been kind of taking it upon myself to contact them regarding dangerous spots around the county for motorcycles, gravel, signage and things like that. And Joel was the last person that responded. He did redirect me to somebody else, but he still seems to have some pull in that position, but he must be still a director of some sort. And I would imagine he probably will stay there, just not have the title.
Yeah, still trying, the dust is not settled in a lot of different places.
Right.
I can tell you that right now.
Yeah,
Joel had long tenure and a lot of experience.
right. But we need somebody who's willing to help businesses, have recognition, because it's a problem, it's a handicap. We have a lot of handicaps in this county, and one of which is signage, the other of which is not having restaurants and alcohol and all kinds of things that would bring guests to this area. And the sooner that we start, embracing some of that, this county could grow.
I had a group call me from Hayesville the other night looking for rooms, and I had them available, 5 rooms. I told them, one alcohol, I gotta bring it with you. They canceled. Well, they first, they said, well, all the rooms will be there, and they called 2 minutes later and canceled.
We have it all the time.
They don't want to haul their alcohol.
I sent Tabitha an article about how red hot, basically moonshining is. It's being expanded in Waynesville, now Gatlinburg, and it's the topic. I get people coming in. We had people from
Where's the closest distillery? It's
Puerto Rico.
This one.
Dominican Republic, from Germany. Everybody wanted to know where they could go and get basically moonshine. And because they had heard so much about it, they'd seen it on the show. It's like, we want to try it. Not around here.
The old days of leaving a tenner on a stump is over. Unless it revives,
Yeah.
but it used to be done.
Yeah.
They tell you where the stump was.
So you've heard,
Yes.
Um,
Oh, geez,
So where was the stuff?
I don't know. You can find out.
Well, that last conversation leads really well into the next thing on the agenda, so I'll just get y'all back on there. The motor touring safety campaign. I came upon that last really bad crash with the French travel writer in the car with me. That's a place where nobody should have had an accident. Really shouldn't. And
you talking about down at the swinging bridge?
I'm a firm believer that in every hotel, every restaurant table, there needs to be a tent. We want you to love the roads, some sort of, we need to message There's
I've got
just
a
too
tag.
many this year.
I've got a tag line, I've been working on this for a long time, because obviously the road, Forest Go Road is just inundated with bikes coming and going, making a lot of noise. And what keeps coming back to me is respect the road and love the county, something to that effect, where it puts on people's minds the fact that, they have a lot to think about when they're out driving around. This is a community, you need to respect it, and, you should embrace Graham County for, as your home away from home. A lot of our people feel like that.
Because it took 2 ambulances, and then the nursing home called for an ambulance. And to my knowledge, then we don't have another ambulance. Isn't that where we're at right now?
Well, third call.
A 4th call would have been, no.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
just how it is.
And that's
And
the way,
you see, that's another thing about local government, the demand expands, not because of the residents.
right,
Right.
And,
because of the tourism.
and then whenever you have to go to set a scale for responses or services, then a person, well, we'll just charge local folks this, and I got to say, no.
Right,
But that comes in, and that's growing pains, right there.
it is.
And you have to provide those services because you want to have those, and people that come to visit here need to know that it's there.
And we want people, when they're here, to have a great experience,
Yes.
not remember Graham County for taking their family.
Right. We, as I understand, we're right up there with.
This was probably one of the worst years from my memories. I haven't really,
It does seem like there's been a lot.
there seems like there's been more this year.
And there was an article on Yahoo, it's been, a month, 6 weeks ago, I read, about the most beautiful roadways to travel to see the fall scenery, or I guess whatever. And the Dragon and Cherahela both made that list. And that article said that the Cherahela was more deadly than the Dragon.
And statistically this year, that is a true statement. And that road is a lot more deceiving, isn't it?
They can gain more speed on the trail.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think they just
Historically, it's been a lot more dangerous because of the speed.
underestimate.
Speed when you have those tight curves.
And then I think from a car driver, and that's the reason why I said motor touring, is you're looking and, you're pulling away. That's everybody's natural, and I think that's what happened. Those people were looky-looing or going a little too fast and overcorrected and got sideways, and there went 2 brothers. I don't know, if they would have stopped someplace and, I don't know, maybe they had hamburgers at the Dragon, and that would have just been the aisle, would it cut back? I really think it would, and I love that line. I love that, respect the road, love the county, and then continue with the safety message.
I think it needs to get out there. I've thought about billboards, and I would think it'd be great if that was something that TNT had to bear the expense of.
Yeah.
A couple of them you
I
can,
think it
tag.
could be a cost share too.
Right.
I think the town, us, Montana, I think we all could pitch a little money into
Or
that.
even hit up some of these businesses, some of the gas stations and the restaurants that benefit from it.
Right.
And put this sign sponsored by so-and-so. Welcome to Graham County, have a safe drive or something.
Again, it's more signage,
Yeah.
so you gotta have, locations to put it. But I really think we need to, put that in front of people, because they come here, they enjoy our roads, our facilities, and sometimes they stay, sometimes they don't. But they, they're guilty of running through here at a high rate of speed. This is their playground, that's great, just make it safe, because it's endangering them and the local economies.
Santa Ranch has a lot of signs in there.
They do.
Person you talk to there would be her name's Miami.
And they should give us a deal.
Yeah.
Those signs are simply vacant.
Yeah. Well, my billboard's only $125 a month.
I'm paying 200.
I'll never let that billboard go. She's keeping me at the same price.
Yeah.
My lease expired a long time ago, but I'm not giving that spot up.
That's a great price for that big of a billboard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is, that's a
I
good
paid
view.
$2,200 for the one at Garland's Seating Feet one time in town.
Really?
Yeah, that's for a year.
It's expensive.
No, I think it was for 6 months.
Oh,
Or less.
Tabitha, I was also told when I was looking at litter ones that it was about a little over 300 for a quarter, so that's about 100 and something a month. I mean, it was very comparable to what he was saying.
Yeah,
And
mine
it was
probably
through one of
4
these
years
big
ago before everything
companies.
really went.
Well, there should be some deals, but I think that really, from a community service, we need some signs that kind of get some people's faces, like, enjoy yourself, but be safe.
We want you to come back.
So if somebody can come up with something better, that's great, but that's kind of.
Look for emails. I think the way this happened was this was one person's, this was GOAC, which turned to ROAC, which turned to road. And that was just a bunch of people just kind of chiming in every so often. So if we start an email and everybody just, if a creative thing hits you, play the add-on and send it back out to the group, and eventually we can take an idea and turn it into something really grand and great that we're proud of and we want to put out there in front of our visitors.
I know that DOT, anytime I kind of want to play to their sensitivity side, I bring up the safety issue, because they are, at least they have been pretty responsive. I guess it's that squeaky wheel gets the grease. We've had a lot of riders go down due to gravel and signage issues and poor road construction techniques, which like on Barbershop Hill over there, they just botched the road up really bad. We haven't had an accident there, but we had several on Lower Stokoe Road within 2 hours of them finishing resurfacing some bridges. And that was my first exposure with them, is that I was just livid that they left them unmarked and full of gravel.
Unswept.
Unswept.
It's kind of like this bridge over here on 129
And
that they just completed. There's still rocks in there, and some mark.
well, you got to get on them and stay on them. And they just were really getting lax there last year. And I just took the mantle and started running with it. And now I've emailed them pretty regularly, like about Wire Road. Even if the roads are not in the county, they're still,
It's in
written
There are
signs are
choices.
against.
It's in their jurisdiction.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Way over to Waynesville, there was some bridges that were, not marked, and people had gradient changes, and, they were wrecking and breaking legs. And they need to be very cognizant of what they're not doing. And I know that they're making some efforts to upgrade the roads, like 74 out there, has gotten upgraded. 28's got a lot of tar snakes, and tar snakes are really, they're just almost as bad as gravel when they get hot. So there's a lot of road issues, and if people come here and want, if that's our attraction, we need to keep them up. So anything that you can do to help further that cause, it just will, helps cement people coming back here year after year and being safe. So I've gotten some good response, is the bottom line. And I'm going to keep the pressure on them about, maintaining the roads. Even getting like signage that gets covered with brush.
Yeah, that's a problem now.
It
I've
is.
said everywhere.
If you miss a
Statewide.
curve, if you've got a 15-mile-an-hour curve and the sign is covered with kudzu, suddenly you don't have a sign. You've got a lot of liability, so nobody paying any attention. So it should extend the entire, 14 districts of western North Carolina? Is that it?
Let's see, we are in district, yeah, we're 14.
We're the 14th district. How many are in, like from Asheville
How many
to?
counties?
I don't know, are you asking how many divisions there are?
Yes.
I believe there are 14. I think it starts from that end, east, west. And the way that they're going to set it right now is that 13 and 14 are going to combine.
Okay.
In other words, there's still going to be, there'll still be divisions, but they're going to come under a different structure. In other words, that's what will be our regional projects, and it will be based on 13, 14.
Right.
And, but you'll still have those division projects. And right now, the governor's office is still trying to educate everybody about how do we compete. I don't, compete's the word, you go in there and you have projects that you want to see done. And again, Graham County's pretty much left out. And one of the reasons for that is because they've had Corridor K hanging there at the top all the time.
Right.
And everybody hangs their hopes and efforts and everything on that. Nothing against the project, but whenever they see that project right there, well, that's gonna be your project. And then all the while, you need bridge so-and-so fixed, or you need to get paving done up into the Calf Pen Gap where all those tar snakes are.
Right.
You need to get 28 paved, not patched.
Yep.
Those things that, I mean, I'm harping about it.
Mm-hmm.
And you see it, and you try to get an equitable way of doing things. You have to have maintenance, maintain what you got.
No question.
So with that, but the issue of the bridge being resurfaced, there's policy with regard to rolling those things. I was an engineer for a while, and you have to roll that and roll it and roll it and roll it, and then you sweep it.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Well, there you are.
yeah. They just-
Somebody's negligent, maybe.
I tell you what,
It wasn't that kind of what happened when the Elders Rake off below Topton years and years ago? They had to sweep the chat off the
Well, you
road.
see that.
And that lawsuit cost the state a pretty penny.
well, this lady,
So it's just
that
a liability waiting.
Mhm.
my wife and I came driving in, I saw what they were doing, saw them working on it, no sweeping equipment at all. I told Charlene, somebody's gonna get hurt today. Within 2 hours, we had one accident that the lady flipped upside down, the bike broke through the guardrail, that's how hard she hit. Had she been in front of the bike, she'd been dead, game over. And that was it was like a 4x6 guardrail, wood. The other guy, started to low side and put his foot down and was able to manage, but he's twisted his leg. And yeah, there could have been a serious lawsuit right there, because that was totally negligent. They knew it because they came out that day and put some cones up, and then they came out the next day and swept. But there was no signage, there was nothing. No cones, no signs, no equipment in the area that indicated that something was changed. And,
Well, another place is there at Clyde.
right.
I followed a couple bikers through there. And I mean, there's just nothing. You just all of a sudden, you merge right or merge left, depending on what you come through there. There's no indication of the drop off of the road or this, that, or their bump, anything else. And I'm driving a car.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
So, those things, and it needs to be brought to mind because, as for motorcycle traffic, we have above average motorcycle traffic.
We do.
So there needs to be an above average consideration given to the safety matters with that, because they call that quote unquote crash data. That's how they establish sometimes priorities and projects to be done. How many have to be killed at an intersection before you get a light?
We should be at the top of the list.
I hate to put it that way, but that's how it's done.
Sure.
We should be at the top of the list.
Yeah, we're certainly winning in that regard.
Yeah.
Whatever we can do, if you can step me through it, if I need to go.
Well, I can point you in directions and people, and I can at least be at the table with you.
Yep.
For the next year anyway.
I'd love to work with you. In fact, Wheels Through Time is interested in participating in it. Ron and Nancy Johnson. I mean,
Absolutely.
everybody that's got a vested interest in this deal, Deals Gap, Brad, Talbot, everybody's interested in trying to, maintain the road quality that we've got so that, our guests have a great, time while they're here and a safe. I mean, there is nothing worse than having to make arrangements for somebody to travel 1,000 miles home with their bike, being wrecked here and trying to find a way home or rent cars. It's a lot of logistics.
It's no secret, it's a fact. The farther west that you come, the worse the roads get.
Yes.
Well, Raleigh thinks North Carolina stops in Asheville. They always have.
Well, we need to change that because we're where the Southeast plays, quite honestly. I can tell you, without a doubt, we don't get the recognition that we should. Maybe because there hasn't been some squeaky wheel that's taken this and taken it to Raleigh, but we're getting a significant number of guests here, cars and motorcycles. And it could be boats and everything else if people would market that, but my interest is, motorcycles and, cars eventually, because we'll switch to cars at some point when we get too old to ride motorcycles. And it shows through this whole county. I mean, this is where, again, people come to play on the roads.
Does that happen Do you ever get to a?
He's gonna get tried eventually, he just doesn't know it.
Can-Am or something. I've already got some cars.
Well, let me throw something in the mix. I know we're getting off a little on the agenda here, but the reorganization right now with the Department of Commerce, I know, Tab, you've got to be familiar with that.
Yeah, but they don't know how it works yet, from what I've
No,
heard.
they don't. And one of the things happened with that was that there was a Senate Bill 127 that didn't pass. And with that, they thought it was going to be a foregone conclusion that that legislation was going to pass, and that they were going to be able to set up what they call prosperity zones. Okay? Well, when they set up this statewide economic development committee, you know where I-77 is?
Mhm.
There are 25 members on this board, 23 on this board. There's only one west to I-77. Really?
That's the reason why it didn't pass.
And guess, and it's Cecil, the Cecil family, who's built one, as I represent. And then finally rattled, and I spoke up at a meeting, and I ended on a subcommittee. So there's me, the guy in Asheville, and I think in Waynesville, and Haywood County was one, their planner, class deal. That's it. From I-77 west.
That's terrible. This area.
You know what I've been told? And I'll tell you what.
That's
I don't
almost
know.
a third of the state.
And you know, you're going to scratch, and you know what I've been told? Well, you just don't have the population or the bark or the bite. You don't have the voting power. You don't have the population. And that's it. That's what I'm told all the way through. And you know, the squeaky wheel kind of thing it is. How do you go with Charlotte-Mecklenburg? How do you go with Johnson County, Wake County? You can almost name them. And the interest now in the part, you know, the eastern part of the state. But you know, the same token, it's just very little recognition of what's going on. That's where I heard the fellow come out of travel tourism, that presentation I sent you.
Yeah.
That's been a part of that process.
You've got to have a balance, though. That's the thing, is you've got to have some economic development for this area. Otherwise, there would never be anybody out here.
Well, my contention is this. We have the Southwest Commission. I don't know if it's good, I don't care. The Southwest Commission represents the 7 westernmost counties, okay? It's what's called council of government. In other words, that's our Southwest Commission, includes the 7 westernmost counties. So we're having to look at the possibility of just saying, well, we're going to have to go and build up our own economic development. You know, because it seems that, yeah, we are very far away. And you know, when I sit in these meetings, they say west, and as far west as it goes, Asheville.
They're missing
And then-
a good part of it.
And the part that, they say, well, there's no interest here, there's no this, that, that's not the truth. One of the things that, local government here has been doing is being at the table every time there's a chance. And you get spread thin, with that.
Right?
But if we had a regional body that could go through the Southwest Commission, which is our council of government, we're all over the state, that they just turn us loose with that, have the funding, and then the counties out here can all work together, forget the darn thing about county boundaries.
Right.
That's one of the biggest drawbacks in economic development in this county, state, in the western part of the state, is because everybody's competing against one another. So, I've got the vision and I see that, and you try to do the best you can. But when you come into economic, I'm honest with you, when you have that, just those represented, I'm not really represented on that committee. But anyway, that's what we're doing.
Cover up the speaker.
Good one. What if you open?
Answer.
But anyway, that's where it's at. I thought I'd throw
Whatever
that
it
in there.
takes, we should just rally. I don't know what it's going to take, how many business people it's going to take, what sort of voice we need. But this area needs just some recognition and some good roads, some signage, simple stuff, and it'll self-propagate.
Yeah.
It's right now it's done. I mean, Maggie Valley is done. Cherokee really hasn't thrived. Robbinsville's the only one that's doing really well is Bryson City. They've got the train. Murphy's going to be doing great because of the casino, and Andrews will do well as a result of But that's 2 years away.
Gene Farley has an office in Murphy. Some of the girls here are having to go over there and help because they're overwhelmed with just writing new policies on businesses and whatever else
Yep.
already, so it's starting.
Well, there needs to be a catalyst. Our catalyst is tourism. That's it.
Not 3M, not 3M or Sure Tape or any other business.
Right. Our business is recreation, and we should embrace that, and they should recognize that because people want to go play. They need to, call it de-stress or whatever it takes. But a lot of people come up here just to get away.
Yeah, Stanley, like this, I mean, that's what
Yeah, we need to look at that. because That's a real reality at some point in time. Unless they get subsidies, Stanley's gonna go.
Oh, yeah, because it's not a
Question
question of
when.
infrastructure at all.
Well,
Help us out, Mike.
Well, I know that, but and it's not that I'm not trying to focus on it, but it's like hitting a brick wall all the time.
Well,
And you find yourself in a place where, I'm ready for house.
You need a bigger hammer,
No,
knock that brick
no.
wall.
Just one, but there's that just needs to be harnessed.
something.
And, yeah, and I believe we're gonna have to do it for ourselves. That's what it boils down
If
to.
that's the case, that's fine.
And stop depending on it, because if you keep going to that table or going to that place and it's
Well,
not
we'll keep
there.
going, but we're gonna have to do it ourselves.
Yeah, once we
Yeah.
get the ball rolling and show Raleigh that they're gonna benefit financially, because that's where you're gonna get their attention, is when you get in their pocketbooks.
We have so many people that come to our house that want to come up here and live. They don't know that they want to live in Graham County. They love North Carolina, but, with the limitations of no hospital that's, close by,
No shopping mall.
shopping malls, or nice restaurants.
Want to go to Hayesville, Murphy, or Franklin?
Yeah.
All those things that are.
I went to the dentist this morning. I go to Andrews. Or actually, it's Murphy.
Looking past it.
It's, people love this area, but they're just not ready to commit. It's like they want to come up here and play, but,
Yeah, if you're not alone able, you depend on your brick and mortar.
Well, yeah, right, or if you're not an outdoor person, like, we built a house for a couple that have a house on Melbourne Beach, and he loves it here. They have 170 acres on Brian Street, or Hawkins Street, one of those places. And he's had it logged, he has it under forest management, and he jogs his logging trails, and loves it. She stays in the house, and about 2 weeks out of the summer, she goes back to Melbourne Beach because she's had all the bugs and humidity she can stand. That's what we see most often with the women, is that it's a cultural shock for
sure.
them to come in here. But you have to like the outdoors in order to stay. There were some people riding down the track on Tuesday, and I was talking, they were from Orlando, and the lady's like, I could never live here because the malls are so far away.
Yep. Heard that many times. This place is for people that don't like to shop.
Yeah, that fits us.
People want to get away.
They do. I mean, that's great.
But they still want their Wi-Fi.
They still want their Wi-Fi.
Exactly.
They want access to some nice restaurants. I can't tell you how many people want a bottle of wine, a beer with dinner. They don't want to get drunk. They just want to be able to have a drink. It's not going to happen here. I mean, they have to bring it in. We've educated all of our guests, and they go, "Why don't you have?"
I just went down.
I told them that it's a dry county. They go, "What? We don't get any rain?" That's the answer. The question that we get all the time. You don't get any rain.
No, we don't have anyone inches a year.
I just went to Andrews right before I came here to pick up 5 cases of beer. The guests that are coming in this weekend. You know,
You can't sell it.
I'm getting my money back.
I know, we do the same thing when people have requested. We get, what is it, 20 or 30 cents extra a gallon for gas up here. It should all go directly to the roads. It's going to Mecklenburg County. It's going to.
The gas is cheaper over there.
Winston-Salem, Raleigh. Yeah.
Gas is 30-something cents a gallon cheaper in Hebrew.
Well, in Tennessee, this past
You go to
weekend was
Maryville.
$3.09.
Yeah, well, now they don't have the gas tax that North Carolina does. Aren't we third in the
Doesn't
nation?
matter.
Yeah, it's like,
Third or fourth.
Yeah, third or fourth in our gas tax.
You go to Blairsville, it's quarter cheaper.
So I'm gonna invite you guys to some workshops. I can only have 3 of you come at a time, so the first 3 people that respond back, you'll be the ones that come. Because we don't want to have a quorum. We don't want to have to keep minutes of but I'd like to work on some itineraries. The state of North Carolina doesn't have an itinerary for us, and we need multiple itineraries for the outdoorsy, the sports enthusiast, or the cultural, crafty, history person. What we want in the new county brochure, we're ready to send that to a graphics person and let them finish that up. And then any kind of other advertising pieces, you know, things like this, or the T-shirts, or things that fit in our budget for this year until next year, when that piece of legislation is going to be through.
Yeah, let's go to that.
Yeah. So,
And I didn't,
be on the lookout for those emails for workshops. That's what this,
Well, now that
that'll
the
be the
government's not shut
agenda.
down, we're back at work, and we're gonna hit it hard, because they're gonna shut down again in January.
Yeah.
Is there any chance of trying to get that 1% restaurant tax, trying to go after that again?
you know, you gave me, I remember you giving me information on that, I did some homework on it. You know, it could be done.
Didn't
I
one of the
mean,
representatives
There's a lot
said
of
they would
revenue
do it?
right there that we
No,
don't-
it's,
Yeah,
it's,
Roger
It
West.
was Roger West that
He
he
said he
would do
wouldn't
it.
push it through.
well, you see, the point is that,
It's because he says.
Oh, I know.
but you see, you'd have to understand if it was an issue of referendum. See, I want to tell you this, you need to understand that the referendum process is another avenue, other than just going out and having it legislated in Raleigh. For a lot of things.
So what steps do we have to take? 'Cause
Do we
I'm-
have to have
There-
somebody like him backing us? Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is that as a community,
We can vote it.
you can go through the process for referendum. And that's all I'm gonna say.
So we need to Google referendum.
You see, it's not up to
in
the
Carolina.
county commissioners on a lot of things. It's not up to the General Assembly on a lot of things. It comes up with the ability of a local community by referendum that it ends up on the ballot.
Thank you.
Let's go
I
that
read
way.
between, thank you.
So, but now let me ask you this, how can travel and tourism receive those funds?
Yes.
Why wouldn't that go to the Chamber of Commerce?
What funds?
The 1%?
The Chamber of Commerce, their purpose is to promote businesses.
Where do they get their operating funds?
Dues.
They get membership.
Just membership fees?
Yeah. They're a
This is
non-profit
a very
organization.
different-
This is for profit, basically.
Well, this is very different from travel and tourism. I mean, it's the designation of those occupancy tax funds, you know that, and anything that you can do to increase
To promote travel and tourism.
travel and tourism.
I mean, in Mecklenburg County, they've got the restaurant tax, they've got 6%
tax.
occupancy tax, got the NASCAR tax.
Seriously, what's the NASCAR tax? How do
To
they
keep
do that?
the museum
You
inside
stay in a
downtown
room, you're
Charlotte
gonna pay
and the
a 2%
racetrack.
NASCAR tax.
Just for NASCAR, you're kidding.
Nuh-uh.
I mean, that's the way it's done.
Okay,
Referendum,
okay,
study it.
okay.
Because it's just somehow or the other, you know, people have it in their minds that somehow or the other, the Board of County Commissioners will make the decision whether this is the right county. That's not the case. I'm tired of telling me that I wear those shoes. I don't wear those shoes.
Well, in the state of North Carolina, it says April is beer month.
Not here, or the billboard up, not here.
Yeah,
And it will be again in April again.
Well, you know, I have my thoughts on the issue, but I know about made you drink it. I know where I can find you a half case beer, and you know, come out on Friday. Go out on Saturday.
Do you
night.
know more
Saturday.
DUIs in this county happen
Reckon why?
between
Binge drinking.
the town of Robbinsville and Andrews, where they bust them at?
And they'll throw out full cases of beer on the side of the road and ride it if they get it, they can't have it in possession.
Don't say that, really.
I challenge you to go out on a Saturday morning, go out on a Sunday morning, see how many
Things have been
Beers
thrown
you can
out
find.
the window.
full beers.
Full beers.
Am I right?
This is the only
I
county.
haven't been over that way on a Sunday or Saturday.
Well, you know, it's just observation, and that's just.
Well, I'm
how it
sure
is.
you'll find them between here and Swain County,
Oh, yeah.
here on the Tennessee line.
Well, you will, but you know, that's the point, but people need to understand that there are things that still the majority vote counts.
haven't completed your sheet, please take a little bit of time with me and hand this to me before you leave.
I can't finish it.
And other than that, or you can bring your homework assignment later. I've got to
Can
give
I
it
bring
to
mine
Becky.
later?
Or you
When
can
are
give
you
it to
gonna
Becky.
try to do those
Bring it later.
workshops?
Uh-huh. Pardon?
When are you gonna try to do those workshops?
When I know some of you guys are gonna be available for sure.
What flavor are they? What are they? What?
Itinerary,
Oh,
advertising.
okay, I see.
Yeah,
Okay, I see what you're doing.
yeah.
Can I
Flavors.
Do I get points for being early?
Yes, you do get
Does
points
that
for being
1%
early.
restaurant tax still have to go through Raleigh? If it passes here, does it still have
Thanks,
to go-
everybody, for
go
coming.
through Raleigh?
Yeah, any public
Approval?
comment? Thank you very much.
Okay.
Lisa,
Okay.
turn the camera all the way around, say thank you. You're welcome.
Okay, is there any other business? Any other public comment? Guest clipboard? Okay. Next meeting will be November 14th, unless barring anything coming up.